After Hezbollah vows retribution for the device attacks, Israeli jets strike the group's rocket launchers in southern Lebanon.
A big step forward, says von der Leyen. EU to loan Ukraine 35 billion euros.
Around 1,000 people were evacuated in northern Italy as extreme flooding continues across Europe, with new areas under threat in the Czech Republic.
The Israel Defense Forces said its fighter jets struck several Hezbollah targets across southern Lebanon on Thursday, September 19. Warplanes hit some 100 rocket launchers and approximately 1,000 barrels, IDF claims. The wave of strikes came hours after Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah vowed in a TV address tough retributions for deadly attacks that targeted its members' communication devices. At least 12 people were killed and thousands were injured when pagers exploded. And a day later, at least 20 people were killed and 450 were wounded in a series of blasts targeting walkie-talkies. Israel has not made any official comment on the explosions, but is being blamed for the coordinated blasts. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Golan said on Wednesday that the country was entering a new phase in its war and would be shifting its focus toward Lebanon and the front with Hezbollah. Images from the region show huge plumes of smoke billowed over Kfar Sir village in southern Lebanon.
The European Union will raise a €35 billion loan to support Ukraine. President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, confirmed the amount during her visit to Kyiv on Friday, along with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The loan is part of an agreement by G7 countries to raise $50 billion in total for Ukraine from the proceeds of frozen Russian assets mainly held in Europe.
This is a huge step forward. We are now confident that we can deliver this loan to Ukraine very quickly. A loan that is backed by the windfall profits from immobilized Russian assets. So crucially, this loan will flow straight into your national budget. This will improve Ukraine's macro-financial stability, and it will provide you with significant and much-needed fiscal space.
The EU budget will be used as a financial guarantee and the money paid back by Ukraine through the profits from the Russian assets. But it'll have to be approved by the European Parliament and by EU member states. But crucially, it doesn't require unanimous approval amongst all EU countries. Von der Leyen said it's up to Ukraine how to spend this money. President Zelensky said the money would be spent on kindergartens, on bomb shelters, on reconstructing the energy sector and on Ukrainian-made missiles. He called for all of the money pledged to Ukraine to be released immediately. Both he and Ursula von der Leyen stressed the urgency of the situation, given that the Ukrainian energy sector is near breaking point. Shona Murray, Euronews, Kyiv.
Ukraine's government officials, military personnel, and critical infrastructure workers are banned from using the Telegram messaging app, Ukraine's National Cybersecurity Coordination Center announced on Friday. The country's National Security and Defense Council described the move as necessary for national security. During a meeting on Thursday, Ukraine's security service and the general staff of the armed forces said Telegram is used by Russia for cyber attacks, phishing, spreading malware, establishing user locations, and calibrating missile strikes. An exception to the ban will be allowed for people who use the app in their official duties. Ukrainians are free to use the app in their personal devices. The app is widely used in Ukraine to stay up to date on Russian air attacks, and also the primary way Ukrainian officials, including President Volodymyr Zelensky, engage with the public to relay war developments.
Flooding continues to ravage parts of Europe as Storm Boris presses on with its path of destruction. Around 1,000 people were evacuated across northern Italy after torrential rains and severe flooding. Rivers burst, with local officials urging people to stay on the upper stories of their homes or leave them outright. Hundreds had to find shelter in schools or sports centres. In the Czech Republic, new areas were threatened as the massive flooding continued moving across the area. The Interior Minister said another person was reported killed in the hard-hit northeast, bringing the death toll there to 5. Helicopters distributed humanitarian aid while soldiers and emergency services participated in cleanup and recovery efforts. Residents of the southwestern Polish town of Kłodzko began cleaning up damage after a local river rose almost 3 times above its alarm level. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said the situation in Kłodzko was the most dramatic in the entire country. So much was destroyed in the houses of residents in Lower Austria, there is now huge amounts of garbage. However, the large waste incineration plant in Dornrohr was flooded and therefore at a standstill. Flooding in Central Europe combined with deadly wildfires in Portugal are proof of a climate breakdown that will become the norm unless drastic action is taken, according to the EU's head office. The EU pledged €10 billion for flood recovery for Central European countries as extreme weather grips the region. The announcement was made by President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen while she was visiting a flood-damaged region in southeastern Poland. While there, she met with the government heads of affected countries like Poland, Austria, the Czech Republic and Slovakia.
Here we say it's 100% European money, no co-financing. These are extraordinary times, and extraordinary times need extraordinary measures. At first sight, 10 billion euros are possible to mobilize from the cohesion funds for the countries that are affected. This is an emergency reaction now.
EU countries usually are required to co-finance projects to access cohesion funding, meaning the decision for the EU to finance 100% is an extraordinary measure. Across Europe, homes have been destroyed, hundreds evacuated and lives lost as several countries were affected by flooding and extreme weather.
German car manufacturer Volkswagen has denied its planning to cut up to 30,000 jobs following a report in a German business magazine. The article also claims the car giant is planning to cut funding for investments over the next 5 years to €160 billion. Volkswagen has been suffering from weak electric vehicle sales, made worse by the German government's 2023 decision to shut down the electric car subsidy program. Germany's economics minister Robert Habeck has said the government wants to help Volkswagen avoid factory closures, but says the company will need to fix most of its problems itself.
Was Volkswagen selbst angeht, so hoffe ich, sage ich auch hier in diesen Hallen nichts Falsches, wenn ein Großteil der Aufgaben von Volkswagen selbst gelöst werden müssen. Teilweise Lasten der Vergangenheit, Kostenstrukturen, die überprüft werden müssen. Das ist die Arbeit des Konzerns.
However, Habeck has agreed to host a summit with representatives from the car industry early next week.
Albania will not allow countries other than Italy to house migrants in reception camps on its territory, Prime Minister Edi Rama has insisted, despite growing international interest in the deal. It comes days after Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said her British counterpart Keir Starmer had expressed great interest in the scheme, which should see Italy transfer up to 36,000 migrants a year to 2 reception centres in Albania, while Rome's right-wing government processes their asylum requests.
This is an exclusive agreement with Italy because we love everyone, but with Italy we have unconditioned love.
The first of their kind centres were first due to open in the spring of this year, but are facing delays. The scheme has been hailed as out-of-the-box thinking by the European Commission President and is gaining traction among European governments. 15 member states, led by Denmark, have jointly called for the outsourcing of migration and asylum policy to tackle an unsustainable increase in irregular arrivals. Prime Minister Rama says his government is trying to offer a pragmatic solution to an issue that is becoming a hot-button political topic in Europe.
When we decided to do this, we decided based on the feeling of responsibility as neighbors, as Europeans. Of course, we are not Europeans with the EU, but we are still so we are Europeans, and this cannot be taken from us. And this is also something we did instead of not doing anything. So is it new or is it not new? Is it innovative or is it not innovative? It will work or it will not work. This is all to be seen, but for sure it's better than just fighting ideologically about this issue and doing nothing.
Rama denied that the move, described by the European Commission chief as an innovative solution to one of the bloc's most politically divisive issues, could give Albania a competitive edge in its bid for EU membership. Albania has been bidding to join the bloc for a decade.
Venezuela's government rejected a non-binding resolution approved by the European Parliament to recognise opposition candidate Edmundo González as president of Venezuela. MEPs had recognised González as, in their words, the legitimate and democratically elected president of Venezuela. Their decision follows disputed presidential elections within Venezuela in July, which opposition claims to have won. However, the country's electoral council proclaimed Nicolas Maduro the winner.